Patrick Christie's here at Westmonster. I'm joined today by the man, the myth, the legend that is Big Phil Campion. How are you doing today, Big Phil?
I'm alright, mate, I'm good.
Good, thanks for joining us today. Just for the benefit of our viewers, can you fill us in a bit on your background? You're obviously in the armed forces and things like that.
Yeah, I'll give you a 2-second synopsis.
Yeah.
Brought up in a children's home, went to a public school, all sorts of bizarre behaviour as a child, ended up in the military, went through an infantry regiment, ended up special forces, namely 22 SAS D Squadron, and that was me. That's more or less me, flash to bang. I got out of the military, and then basically went straight on what we call the circuit or the circus, all right? And that's some people call it mercenary, some people call it contracting, but basically, marauding around flesh pots, sorting it out.
Fair enough, excellent. So it qualifies you perfectly to have a very valid opinion about the current...
Oh mate, I've got an opinion, qualified or not, I've got an opinion, mate, don't worry about
that. So London's obviously still reeling, unfortunately, from this past being tube bomb, which could have been a lot worse than it was. Judging by your social media and TV, you're obviously not best pleased with the way the government's tackling the terror threat in Britain. What's really getting you wound up about it then?
Right, what's getting wound up is, look, if you put things into perspective, okay, we have got a massive problem here, and it's always been sidelined for something else, okay? They're always sort of let's go on about Brexit, let's talk about this. No. Can you imagine Winston Churchill going and say, well, the Nazis are away, I'll work on my foreign policy? No, bollocks, no, fuck. Get on with the fucking problem in hand, which is these lunatics that want to do harm to our children. Absolutely. Okay, that's the problem, that's the major problem. And like I say, I'm not politically minded, I don't give a shit who's in the seat, I couldn't give a fuck who wears number 10, who's got the fucking hat on, the fucking wig on, or whatever they want to fucking wear, I don't give a shit. Sort this problem out, okay, because it's coming to a head now.
So we talk about there being about 23,000 people regarded as people of interest on this terror watch list. 3,000 of them are supposed to pose some kind of immediate danger. I mean, this is a bit of a Trojan horse, isn't it, in British society? I mean, what do we do about it?
It's huge, right. We've got to do something about it quickly because we're sort of like we've been unpicked from the inside out, do you know what I mean? So they're actually sitting inside us. It's like a cancerous disease. It's in there and it needs taking out. And you can't put a plaster on it and pretend it'll go away because it will get bigger and bigger and bigger. Right, you've got to get in the weeds, you've got to get the scalpel in, and you've got to get dirty and you've got to pull this rubbish out, okay? And the only way you are going to do that is by anybody who's shown any intent, whether it's, clicking on the wrong website, whether it's burning a flag on Poppy Day, whether it's, mouthing off at the press, if you have shown any of this treasonous, scummy intent that these people are showing, you need to go down the tube for a little bit, and when we find out that, okay, all right, we might have made a mistake, that's fine. Because I can live with one person being lifted wrongly, but I can't be doing with more children dead on the streets. That ain't right, okay? So one person, you ain't got no argument. You've got no argument with me whatsoever on it.
Yeah, so you obviously therefore would be in favour of some kind of internment type thing, and especially with regards to maybe what about the ones that are returning jihadis? We see them...
But if you're a returning jihadi, you go straight in the pen. There's no ifs, buts, maybe. You are straight in the pen, and you're interrogated, and you're segregated from society. Your phones are lifted. You've got no access to social media, and you're removed from the problem. Because unfortunately nowadays, I can sit on my computer in my room as a potential jihadi, and I can get all the stuff I need just by going online. Okay, so we need to remove these people completely from spreading this hatred because it isn't working. It isn't working just saying, all right, let's put some more troops on the streets, let's do this, let's do that. And by the way, I have to say, our armed forces and our security services in particular do a tremendous job, and they're probably foiling more than what's happening. Okay, but they're still not getting the backing. They're still not getting the full 9 yards. They need to be given all sorts of extra powers and responsibilities, so that they can conduct their business properly.
So would you arm police, or would you just have more manpower? What do you think?
But I've spoken to a lot of policemen like this. A lot of them don't even want to be armed. Yeah. So until we've got a police force that accepts at some point in its career it's going to have to be armed and it's trained appropriately, then no, you can't. But we need to be heading along those lines, and everybody should at least have a taser or some pepper spray on him. I mean, they're walking around. The geezer that was attacked over the road over there, he had nothing. He's fist and boot violence against a car and a machete. I mean, come on. It's even up a little bit. That's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah. How do you think that these returning fighters have been able to just get back in the country? Because they talk about there being about 500 of them, obviously more, that have gone and then come back into Britain and are now wandering the streets. I mean, how has this been allowed to happen, do you think?
We've got to control our own borders, and partly you might argue about Brexit and all that sort of stuff, but I'm fed up with you telling us what we will take, what we won't take. No, I'm not having that anymore. You can have the shit. It hasn't landed on my doorstep yet. Do you know what I mean? So sweep it away because we don't want it. All right, we don't let it return. We've got to control our own borders, and we've got. I did that thing for the Brexit campaign where I went over there in a rib and I pinched the people and I brought them back again. It's a piss to get in this country. Do you know what I mean? We've got to tighten down on it. Stop spending money on your foreign policy, stop spending money on tourism and all the rest of the shit where your money goes, all right? Stop promising students things that you can't deliver, and let's tighten our shores up a little bit, you know, because that's where it counts.
What do you make of the terror threat kind of immediately being dropped from critical back to severe? I mean, I think I saw on your social media, it seems to go up and down.
Yeah, we're on severe. We should be on severe and on severe for a very long time, until it at least comes down a little bit, because as far as I can see, it can happen at any time at the moment. And like I say, while you've still got these people that we know about marauding around doing their own thing, they're not even tagged. I mean, if I'm a football hooligan, you make me hand my passport in, you know where I am at all times during the football match, okay? There is a problem here if we're not doing that sort of things to these people, because they are intent on doing harm, and you can't just talk them out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you tweeted a few days before the Parsons Green one saying that you thought there was going to be a bomb attack on a train.
Yeah.
What made you say that then?
No, I've got my ear to the ground. You know, obviously I've got friends that still do little bits and pieces. I've got my ear to the ground, and that was the buzz that was going about. You know, the next one's going to be on a train, so I just pumped it out there because, you know, I'm not in the business of hiding anything from anybody. I can give a shit. As long as it doesn't compromise anybody's safety, which, you know.
Well, which it definitely didn't, did it? No. That's the thing. But yeah, and I think we've had a problem with some counter-terror programmes like Prevent and things, because it can create a little books, be seen to create a bit of an us and them mentality in certain communities. I mean, how do you actually get into the nitty-gritty of communities?
Right, let's get this straight from the start. There is an us and there is a them. And that's not a racist thing. There's people doing wrong and people doing right. And I don't give a shit the colour of your skin, what you wear on your head, what you decide to dress and what church you go to. I couldn't give a fuck about that. There are people that do wrong and there's people that do right in both communities. So let's just weed the wrong uns out. All right, and let the people do them right, because I don't care where you go, what you do and how you do it, so long as it doesn't impinge on my safety and my children's safety, okay, because that's where the problem is. Let's forget about all this fucking division in communities, colour of skin and all the rest of it. That's a load of bollocks, that's an excuse, that's a fucking prop for people to fucking wedge the others apart with, okay? That doesn't work. So we say there's wrong uns and there's right uns, okay, and so long as you can get, there's only two groups and you're in one or the other, all right, and if you can't get your fucking head around that, you really are fucking stupid, you're part of the problem, all right?
And so, looking at Amber Rudd, the Home Secretary now, Theresa May had years Home Secretary, and Sadiq Khan was the Mayor of London. I mean, when you look at these people, how do you think they're dealing with the terror threat? Do you think that changes need to be made? Or?
There's three people there. I wouldn't let them make dinner for me dog. Do you know what I mean? Between the lot of them, they can drive a greasy stick up a fucking dog's bum, let alone fucking rearrange a country. The lot of them, they get rid of them. They're no good, right? And the problem we've got is we haven't got a lot to vote for, have we? Yeah, well, do you know what I mean? So that's where the problem is. So it's sort of like Theresa got in there by May's got in there by default, you know. And as for Sadiq Khan, what planet that ever came from, I haven't got a clue. Do you know what I mean? Because his whole tenure was ridiculous. Yeah. You know, but unfortunately, you know, until somebody steps up to the mark and says, right, I'll do a proper job of this, or people are listened to, and they actually, rather than pushing their own agendas, push what the people want, this ain't going to get sorted, is it?
I mean, do you think at the minute, as far as you're concerned in your lifetime, is this the most severe terror threat, or do you think certainly the most pressing terror threat that you can remember? Obviously, maybe Sentinel now, I suppose, but you know, is it that bad? And really, what needs to be done? We spoke about longer prison sentences. Maybe we spoke about internment. Maybe we spoke about tightening the borders. I mean, is that the main?
You've got two things to look at in a major way. You've got the long-term objective, which is obviously, you know, you've got to stop the hate preaching. You've got to get into the people that are briefing them and setting them up and training and all the rest of it. So that's the long-term thing, and that will be done by, you know, getting better relationships with the mosques and the mullahs and all the rest of the people in charge, and eventually getting to the elders of these and actually weeding it out and bringing it out. Immediately, you've got to pull these people off the streets. You've got to get them out of harm's way. If I was deemed, you know, if somebody went through my laptop and found a load of stuff on there subversive to the UK or to anybody, or decided that I was doing this, that, or the other wrong, I'd be pinched when I'd be gone. I would go down the tube straight away, okay? I'd probably go down the tube if somebody suspected me of doing that. And that's rightly so, okay? So these people are known to be doing so, and they're still being allowed to walk the streets. It's just incredible to me. It's beggars belief, it really is.
The government's advice in the event of a terror attack is this run, hide, tell business. I mean, what do you make of that?
I don't massively go against that, okay, because you've got to deal with every situation as it comes and as it falls. And to be brutally honest with you, the best thing you can do is get out of the way and let someone know what's happening. That really is. So that's pretty sage advice from the government. I mean, but there comes a point in these attacks where if you are completely under the cosh. I mean, I'm backed into a corner, the guy's wielding the machete, you ain't got nowhere to run, okay? You ain't got nowhere to hide, and no one's going to listen until you get out the other side. So sometimes you will have to fight. But I wouldn't advocate anybody would run into an affray if they're not equipped to do so, okay? It's very brave of people to do. The Lion of London Bridge, I met him, what a cracking geezer, do you know what I mean? I think he only thought they were Arsenal fans, do you know what I mean? So he wanted a row anyway, but no, fair play to him, okay? He got involved. I wouldn't advocate that, and I would definitely say that run, hide and tell is probably the best one. But nowadays, my brief to people is to say that if you hear any sort of a commotion behind you whatsoever, you have to assume the worst and break track immediately. Because if you're in harm's way, if you can hear it or see it, you're in harm's way, okay? So just break track, get into a shop, get behind a bush, get out the way, take a stock of what's going on, and then decide what your course of action is, whether you're going to move away from what's happening, whether it's already finished. I mean, if it's a suicide bomber, there'll be a few bits and pieces coming out of the sky for a few seconds, and then you'll be off on your merry way, do you know what I mean? So, then it becomes a thing of controlling the collateral damage afterwards, seeing what you can do to help others. The list is endless. I do run now courses for people which deal with the aftermath, which deal with the during and preparation, because don't forget, with all this, prevention's better than a cure. So if I think something's lining up nicely for a good smack, I won't even fucking go, to be honest, do you know what I mean? And that's the way it is. That's not me being a coward, but he who fights and runs away, do you know what I mean, Rodney? It's a fucking, he who dares, isn't it? You know what I mean? Jesus.
So you think, just lastly really, you think we obviously have been too soft for too long?
Too soft for far too long. We've let this build up and build up and build up. And it's got to a point now where, we've even watched people disappear from this country to fight against people that are standing up for the good of this country, and we've let them back again. I mean, where are we going with that? That's ridiculous.
Big Phil, thanks very much. It's been an absolute pleasure, mate.
All right, mate.